I am here today with the co-founder of the Health Australia Party, Dr. Isaac Golden. Welcome.
Nice to be with you, Bass.
Thank you very much. And look, today we are going to go in the direction of, if you want to see change, you've got to be the change. And I think this is more relevant now than ever, especially in 2020, where we're seeing a lot of changes. Some changes suit us. Some changes are completely opposed to the idea of what we think is even normal. So this is why people are talking about new norms. What I'd like to bring to this conversation, Dr. Isaac Golden, is firstly, I want to salute you for being the co-founder of Health Australia Party, for taking the charge and saying something needs to change back in 2015 when you first got into Health Australia Party. And you said, you know what, we're going to be the change. We're going to look at the 5 pillars that form the foundation of Health Australia Party, and we're going to introduce that to Australia to better the circumstances in our country for everybody. And I salute you for that. So that's what I want to start with. Talk to me about what made you, in your inspiration, in your heart, say there needs to be a change and I'm going to be part of that change, rather than wait for someone else to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really started me, Bass, was the fact that natural medicine, and I've been in practice now for 35 years, has been under sustained attack in this country and most other developed countries around the world. It's a coordinated attack. Unfortunately, the politicians in our country, many of them, I'm sure, are well-meaning, but they're ill-informed about health. And when I talk about health, it's not just health treating a person with a tummy upset or with asthma or psychological issues. I'm talking about, and the Health Australia Party talks about, health in 5 ways, and that's the 5 pillars of the Health Australia Party. But my starting point was to do with the attacks on natural health and natural medicine practitioners, including, by the way, chiropractors and osteopaths, and including integrative medicine doctors who also practice with natural therapies as well as pharmaceuticals. So this sustained attack meant that the people of Australia, who by and large support the use of using some form of natural medicines, we know from research that over 60% of the Australian population use some form of natural medicine. Now that can include buying vitamin C at the local chemist. About 40% go and see practitioners. So that there should be a massive level of support when people are informed that they risk losing their freedom of choice. And that was what really got me started, the potential for the loss of freedom of choice. And right now, as you correctly said, with COVID, we're losing our freedom of choice more than ever. Yeah. And we have to be really, really aware and careful of defending our democracy, defending our society, as well as looking after the environment. The economy has taken a massive hit, and of course, people's own personal health. I was listening to Professor McGorry, who said that demands on the mental health system have increased by 30%. They're our 5 pillars.
Sure.
So it's more relevant now than it was when I started, but it's a long road. This is not something that can be done quickly. We've worked really, really hard, but there's been too few of us. And unfortunately, none of our benefactors come in the Clive Palmer economic strength of giving us millions and millions of dollars. So it's been a hard struggle, but it's a worthwhile one.
I love that you brought that up. And yes, of course, any change that's worth having is a long road, and you've got to stay the long road if you want to see the change actually come to fruition. If you want to play a short game, being the change isn't really the course. So I hear you, and I've experienced that in my personal life in different areas, in my own health, in my own leadership, in my own career paths, and so on. So speaking of Clive Palmer, we've just had the Queensland elections just happen on the
Yes.
weekend. There was something in the ABC, there was an article about how he spent $4.2 million for his campaign and didn't get any seats, didn't get much votes. And I think it's not so much about the money. You know, money, of course, is a form of energy that can attract and can campaign, especially for elections. But I think what we've seen, even in 2016 with the Hillary Clinton and the Trump elections, which is also, I think tomorrow there's going to be the closure for
Yep.
that. And who knows, maybe they'll have to do counts and recounts and we won't hear a result for another month. But what we saw back then as well is it's not the money. She threw, I think, like $10 million and he threw 1 point something million dollars. I could be wrong. She could have thrown 16 and he thrown 1.6 million. But the difference is the underdog or the person that needed to be there to make the changes kind of got that seat. And so I honestly think today, even more than ever, it's not about the monetary side of things. It's about the principles, and it's about bringing something that's going to be the vibration that the majority want to see in terms of change. And I think that's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, I don't totally agree with you, actually,
And
Bass.
that's fine.
Um,
I'd love to hear
in,
your
in
thoughts.
in the sense that mostly people who say it's not about the money are the people who have enough.
Yes,
When you don't have any at all, and I'm talking as a political party now,
sure.
the money makes a very big difference, because even simple things like boosting a post on the Facebook page,
Right,
or an election time, being able to put up posters or do advertising.
right.
It's and by the way, I think Trump and Clinton spent a hell of a lot more than just a few million each. It was many, many hundreds of millions
I was saying he spent like
altogether.
10% of what she spent, I think,
Oh
all up.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. And so you are. I agree with you that passion is very important.
Yep.
But look, I know from the Queensland election results, we had some friends uh, running there who were very passionate, who had some money, and the
Didn't get a
result
look in.
was they didn't get a look in.
No,
And what it shows is that passion on its own, it's important, but
but
it's
not
not
enough.
enough either.
Right.
The most important thing to start with is truth.
Sure.
And many parties have skirted around truth. And this is one thing we've tried really hard not to do in
Yes.
the Health Australia Party. And this is why sometimes we have not been as outspoken as some people would like,